Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Are y'all still here or did you leave me already? I know I have at least 4 people. How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. We've almost made it to Friday, y'all. Well, technically, we have made it to Friday. And if you are replaying this, you can probably fast forward a couple minutes in the live. We're letting people come in right now. So we'll see. We'll see. This was kind of a pop-up presentation. So I don't expect that everyone will either be awake or available. Hey! Hey, Lord No Kids. Hey, Bonnie. How are y'all? I'm so glad y'all could come in. I'm really glad. It's funny because whenever you're given a presentation and not talking to someone, like I know that it's silent in here and I could do the same thing not talking to you guys on a pre-record, but at least just knowing you guys are on the other side makes it a little bit better because then it's not so weird. Hey Justin, how's everybody? How are y'all? We're getting some of the lighting and the camera down a little bit better, but you know what's really weird is actually, hold on. I don't know why it always wants to do this. Okay, never mind. We're good. You're in a pissy mood. What's up? Dude, welcome to the club. I'm not currently, but give me like 5 minutes. Look at this mic. This is supposed to be a fancy sounding mic, but I really need to figure out how to work my tech. Justin had to have a cigarette before we started, which reminds me I didn't put my nicotine patch on, but that's okay. Listen, y'all, I've never been a smoker, and like even just a little bit of nicotine makes me kind of no, it really does make me sweat and nearly pass out when I've done like the pouches. But the patches are really good for long-term COVID. Oh, I'm good. Okay, so we have 16 people in here, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Man, I wish I had some fresh coffee. That'd be great. Okay, so, I've been thinking for a while, we really haven't really done much of a deep dive on either of the sets of parents. We kind of know a little bit about them, but the more I started looking really into the boys, now they're young men, obviously like 22, 23. I'm talking about Lance and Tyler. The more I thought, this just doesn't make sense. And of course, you can't tell everything from pictures because, Tyler does fit the description of what even Candace was saying today, just that he was a sweet, quiet kid, but smart. And then Lance apparently had some behavioral issues in high school. But I will say, just from like looking at pictures and such of their family, he seems to be a pretty good kid. But of course, you don't know. That's the thing. Social media, you never really know. But there's one thing I do know, and that he is extremely bright, extremely talented. Like they had them doing like piano. Okay, let me get it. My brain's not firing. They've had them in like piano classes for a really long time. And actually, what I think is, I get the feeling that there may be some mental health issues in that family, specifically Lance. I have to wonder if he might have like schizophrenia or something. And I don't know whether or not, drugs are involved, but he's a young kid. he could have got messed up in it. One thing I did find in my research is that he had some pretty extensive back surgery. Man, he must have been like 15 or younger. I can't really tell, but they had to take him to the Children's Hospital in New York, I think. And he had back surgery for scoliosis, which it must have been really bad to have that. So I don't wonder if maybe he was on painkillers or something, but it doesn't justify anything. It just might explain some things. But I just didn't think that the guys fit the typing for this. And the more I looked into the mom of Lance, Amy Twiggs, the more I had questions. She kind of has like, and I reserve we're all humans. So we have judgments that happen immediately, whether they're right or wrong based on what we've learned in our environments and in life. And so many times we can be wrong. So I often take a step back and like let the rest kind of fill in. But there is something to be said about going off of your intuition and what you see. And with her, going through all of her social media posts and such, she seems to favor some kids over the others. It's just kind of what it seems like to me. She has, I think, an undergrad in psychology from Stanford, but, and focuses on the mindset of athletes. But she kind of gives like this toxic positivity thing. And, I am a life coach too. I do life coaching for other female attorneys. But one of the reasons why I really didn't put myself out there for the public to see like that is because I was always afraid it would feel like I was a grifter or something, or people would think that. And that was my own problem. But whenever I see her do things like this, she was a gymnastics instructor, and rightfully so, because she went to school on a scholarship for gymnastics. She was on the national team in the 90s. But then she switches over into teaching gymnastics for a really long time. And then she gets into like real estate and selling life insurance. And she's also like an author. And she's put out a bunch of books. And she's also promoted herself as a life coach. And I'm just kind of like, who is she? And the irony that her own son was struggling with something, obviously struggling with something. But she's, has a background in mental health and coaching and psychology. I thought it was all kind of odd. And tonight I just want to present some things to you guys because I know we have some researchers out there. Let me read some of this stuff. Yeah, Justin, I agree. I feel like it's a grift. Can I just say that? I mean, this is my podcast. I can say that, or my YouTube. Yeah, I'm kind of tired of being PC at this point. It's like, I think we should start calling things like we see them. So I wanted to put this together tonight to kind of show you guys some of the things I found, because I know more of y'all do research. And so maybe you can take some of this and run with it. And there are still some things that I haven't disclosed in this presentation because I want to make sure I get it right. So that's what we're doing tonight. Let me read. Hey, Crunk, how are you? Yeah, Justin said it for me. She does have a grift going. So I also have to wonder, well, we'll get into it. Okay. So, Amy Twiggs, who is Lance's mom. Okay, so this is just kind of a breakdown of the family, and y'all are going to see me pointing this way. Let me actually move this over here so it's not so distracting for you guys. Let's do it down over here. I'm going to make it full screen. Okay. All right. Okay. So at the top left corner, I took out the names of her children just because even though they are all adults, like I can only imagine what it would be like being a sibling to someone who's in the middle of this. So we have Jerry D. Twiggs, and that is Tyler's grandpa. Sorry, Lance's grandpa, obviously. And he's the one that y'all might have heard about. He's a pediatrician, I believe, in town in the area. And so obviously that's Lance's dad's dad. Okay. And then, so grandpa is Jerry D. Twiggs. Dad is Jerry Tyler Twiggs. I think sometimes he goes by Ty or Tyler. Amy is mom. And then he has an older brother and an older sister, and then a younger sister. Okay, so just to kind of get a background of what she does. Let's see, I'm reading some of the comments. So she holds herself out to be a real estate agent, and her license was issued between November of 2017 to November of 2023. So it's been expired since then. Her husband, on the other hand, it looks like his has been active since 2017. And this is another thing I want to say about grifting and weird, suspicious things about money. And I see it often come up in real estate transactions and insurance sales. I can't tell you why, and I'm not saying that's what they're doing here, but it is rather odd. And I am trying to read some of these comments. Okay. Anyways, now they also hold themselves out as insurance sales agents. So these are all the active licenses they have for life, health, and sickness insurance. So Amy and her husband have had licenses only since 2026. I mean, a couple months ago, that was in February. I have no idea if I missed the earlier ones, but it didn't look like anything was renewed. So I could be wrong, but it seems to me they've only been licensed since 2026 to sell insurance, which is sketchy considering some of the other stuff that I had found of them publicly. And then the youngest sister has been an insurance sales agent since 2024, which means she would have had to be like 19. And I'm not saying, obviously that she couldn't have been, but that's rather young. And then his older brother has been doing it since April of 26. So that's that. They all do something with insurance sales. And then Amy and her husband are apparently in real estate. And the real property that they have, this is what also kind of drew my attention, was they have the house in St. George. I've taken off the addresses of all these things because I don't want to dox anybody. So the house in St. George that they were living in at the time of Charlie Kirk's assassination, they had bought that as husband and wife in 2012. But then in 2017, their trust buys it. And then in 2021, they rebuy it from the trust. And then since 2022, the trust and the two of them have owned it, which it's normal to put your assets in a trust in the event that you get sued personally. Your assets are protected in a trust. But what's really odd is that there is a house in Houston that was purchased in June 24 by Amy and their oldest daughter. So I don't know if they needed mom to co-sign. I have no idea. I did think it was a little odd that dad's name wasn't on it or anything, but they changed the ownership to dad in a family trust in December of 2025. So whatever is going on with that, they just changed everything. Maybe it's because Amy's name was on it and they were concerned about the ongoing situation. But I don't see that any lien, or not lien, but any loan, any mortgage loan was taken out against it ever. So I can't be sure. But then at the same time, they turn around and at the same time in December of 25, they buy another piece of property in Houston, which is where they're all either living or are associated with. So it's also owned by Lance's dad and the trust. And all the kids, except for maybe the oldest daughter, have been associated with this one since February. I do find it odd that you would move out of state with something like this ongoing, even if you love your son to death, if you thought that he had anything to do with it. I don't know why you would leave. Effectively, that makes you an out-of-state witness. I just can't believe they would do that. And I also can't believe that the court would allow them to not compel him to testify in person. The other thing is Lance, when I want to know who asked Lance to come into the sheriff's department that night, because we never found that out. We just know that Tyler allegedly turned himself in. And at some point, Lance is there. They only take pictures of his cell phone, right? They don't even do the Cellbrite extraction until April. So the kid has a cell phone from September to April. But yeah, like who does that? Like this is an active, ongoing investigation with the FBI and everybody involved. And they actually, what Candace said tonight was that they drive Lance back to his parents' house after he had talked to them at the sheriff's department. I also want to know why they didn't talk to Lance's parents, since they own I think it's his grandpa, but regardless, why they didn't talk to Lance's parents or his grandparents, because they owned the apartment that the guys lived in. And they seem to be pretty active and involved with the guys. Lance had said he didn't want Tyler coming over to his parents' house right at the time he confessed. So, I mean, they must have been used to seeing him, seeing both the guys and like letting them do laundry over there. It's all very, very odd to me. How do we know that Lance was there that same night? It was Officer Davis, Brian Davis, who testified to that. One of the Houston. Okay, I will get with Kelly. Okay, so moving on a little bit. So that's just a little bit of background. And this is what I found. This is a tax lien that was, let's see, looks like it was issued in January of 26. It's for income taxes, I believe, for the year of 2024. It's about, we'll just roughly say $9,500. And instead of it being paid, it was set aside or disposed of. And then they vacated it. So I'm not used to the Utah court system, but I looked it up. And essentially it just means that they deleted it out. I know what vacated means, but I didn't know if whether they paid it or what happened. But it looks like it was set aside. So I'm really confused as to how that happened. Anybody have any thoughts? I don't know. I don't like it though. So there's that. Looks like they got hit with this, and then they were already out of. I wonder if they could even get served. I wonder if that's why. Because I'm seeing here. Yeah, it could be that, because I know that they moved to Houston in December, right? And then you could see the date here is January. So I wonder if they just didn't get served or what it is. Yeah, I think it's obvious too. I think when I started seeing things like this, I was like, okay, what do they do? Just do you a favor and just say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And where I'm going with this is I have to wonder, and obviously not every Mormon is like this, but both of them are Mormon families. And I know that we know now about like the Mormon Mafia and how things go with this. I have to wonder if she allowed Lance to be used in this way. I don't know. But it does seem like, I mean, maybe they said, hey, you have a kid who's struggling with mental health. He'd be the perfect patsy. Why not? You know, and I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just throwing around some ideas out there because the whole thing does seem really weird. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this too. Stephen Neal is her dad, I believe. Now, she may have a brother, but I don't think his name is Stephen. Stephen is her dad. It looks like she gave him some kind of loan in 2025, and he was making monthly payments for that. So we have more money. Why did they all have to go to Stanford, though? I think only she went to Stanford. Or maybe I don't understand your question. Anyhow, I thought that this was interesting because once you start to think about motive and such, money becomes a motive. I know, but look, like, if you put this stuff out there, certain platforms are not social media. Turn it off, like, make it private. That's another thing. She's so out there. It's like she's the braggadocious mom. She wants to look like the one who's all caring and loves all of her kids and is always doing this and is always doing that and has active this. Like, if I were her dad and I was needing to take out a loan for my daughter, first of all, I'd be embarrassed, but hey, we help our families, right? But I would be like, could you not put that on private? Yeah, the family may be getting perks for his cooperation. That's very true. I only meant to say the Mormon thing because, like I said, it's not every Mormon. I mean, it doesn't matter what your religion is, but I do know that there are some communities that raise people up to be patsies and such. But I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to Lance. I really don't. Now, you're going to have like one rogue kid. You probably will, especially if it's the younger boy. 1 out of 4 isn't bad, but at the same time, like, you hold yourself out as a psychologist, like someone with a degree in psychology, and you're a mental health coach. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Maybe that's what I was looking for, Justin. I feel like she's a programmer. Yes. Retooled. Okay. And then this, I didn't really want to post it too much, but you know what? I did because this was back in 2024. And I think that they could have had this is her husband. Maybe they were having marriage issues, something. But you see on the right that he's repaying a loan to her. And then on the left, which is about December, like he's giving her money and rent. And I just think that while that could be normal between a husband and wife, it is super odd to charge your husband rent or, and it could be anything. Rent, that could be anything. But to make it public just gives me the ick so much. Just so much. Yeah. There's that. I don't know what was going on. But why do you make it public? Also, y'all have been married for a really long time. Okay, so at some point she had, by the way, if y'all didn't know, she is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. Yeah, so let me read this back to you guys. Okay, so she's #1 best-selling author, mother of 4 teenagers. So that must have been back whenever they were all teenagers. Co-owner of Pro Mindset Academy. And if you find her Instagram, it's just like scroll of like positive quotes. And sometimes I find that the people that put that stuff out the most are the most troubled. It's just an observation. Works with the culture of sports by teaching coaches and athletes mental and emotional health tools. Like, what about your son? What happened to your son? She's a former elite gymnast, yes, and in 1993 she was a member of the national women's gymnastics team, which is totally badass, by the way. I was also a gymnast. So she was full ride athletic scholarship, gymnastics at Stanford, and she has a bachelor's in psychology and a focus on health and development. Currently a mental strength coach, as well as a certified life and weight management coach. This is all just, I think this feels like a programmer, you guys, because of how Lance has turned out. Emotional management training is her passion. Like, I can't make this up. Serving many clients, struggles of fear, doubt, insecurities for over 20 years. And then I will stop reading the slide to you. You guys can go back. And then she offers one-on-one coaching for high-performance clients, teams, clubs, and schools. So if you guys want a copy of this slide deck, I will happily give it to you, and y'all can read the in between. And here is a list, well, kind of a capture of the different books online that she's written on Amazon. So you have Becoming a Self-Coaching Guru, Flippin' Awesome Gymnastics, Weight Loss on the Go, Leadership in Trying Times, and all the other things. Okay, so switching over to, yeah. I'm reading some of y'all's comments. This is why, okay, it's women or coaches like this, why I didn't come out as a life coach, even though I am licensed and I have licensed and certified as a life coach. It's because of the griftiness of this. This right here makes me cringe so bad. And I mean, she seems like she's got a mental health issue to me. I'm reading some of your. Oh, how funny. No, she went to Stanford for gymnastics, which is awesome. She had to be really, really good. And to make the national team, using them as laundry accounts. Yeah. See, I like this because you guys are drawing your own conclusions. And that's what I want you to do, to read between the lines. So I pulled a couple of these clips, right? Because these are all available on the internet, by the way. So this is going back to the real estate license. Her license was from 2017 to 2023. And then his was 2017 and it's still current. They have operated under like Twiggs Realtors. I know that. Let's see. She just talks about, and I can tell you, I don't know when these were made. So, but they have more information on them. Okay. So this one, interesting to me because she and her husband have only had active life insurance licenses in Utah since 2026. And that's unless I am missing something. So that was since February. But here you have back in 2024 where she's with Red Dirt Insurance. And maybe she wasn't a salesperson at the time, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, maybe she was just out there being their salesperson. Maybe she did their presentations, but I do think it is a little odd. I'd be really curious to know if she was selling people life insurance or any kind of insurance and whether or not she actually had a license before 2026. Here's another one, Premier Financial Alliance. This is back in March of 2025. Premier works with insurance sales, right? But again, this is in 2025. She's only been licensed since 2026 from what I can see. I could be wrong, but I don't know. It's all a little bit sketchy to me. And so that's it as far as the slide deck goes tonight. I have a lot more that's more in depth, but I really wanted to get out there and put this out there and give it to you guys because, it's odd. It's all odd to me with the background and the mental health and the griftiness that she has. And I mean, I'm really curious whether she was licensed to do the work that she was doing or what she did. The fact that their tax lien for nearly $10,000 was just set aside earlier this year. She moves the whole family out of Utah. I don't see why that's necessary. And and the fact that they didn't even talk to the FBI, SBI didn't even talk to Lance's parents that we know of, unless they're just not saying that to us. And they drove him back home that night. Didn't do the cell bright extraction on his phone. As far as I know, they didn't have a search warrant at their house. They certainly had a search warrant over at Tyler's parents' house. So that is a very brief, that's our very brief presentation for tonight, but I wanted to get that out there. What do you guys think? And if you're catching it on the replay, class dismissed, you may go. Yeah. I just, you can't save everybody and you can't save your own children, but you can certainly help them. You can try. And I'm not saying that they didn't, but by the way, she also has a YouTube channel with like 50 different videos on it. They're about 6 years old. There's something about her that's unsettling. And I have heard and I've seen pictures on probably Baron Coleman's podcast that they've been doing a lot of international traveling this past year. And I will say too that his dad was frequently in having issues with tax liens, which I mean, I get it. Every now and then, like you underpay or something, and with the loan that she was giving her dad, there's always something around money. There's always something. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't licensed to do certain things. Maybe she got caught. I don't know. It is definitely sus that the feds drove him. You know what I'm really like, especially with Lance having some mental health issues, you can see it on him. I mean, just the way he talks and everything and holds himself. He held himself together pretty well for that interview. But I wouldn't be surprised if the young man had some schizophrenia going on, especially being as brilliant as he is. And growing up in a Mormon community, a Mormon family, there might have been like a lot of oppression for self-expression and such. And maybe that's just what happens when you get out of the house. And maybe it's all just coming up. But thanks, guys. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Feds offer to help mom and dad out for his participation in being an asset. It's like, but who got in trouble first? Yeah, there's something not right with this family. Yeah, I know Dom a little bit. I should ask her. Actually, I think I did ask her. I just couldn't remember who it was. Oh, I don't know who is in trouble. I don't know if anybody is in trouble, but I mean, with the insurance sales and the like the tax lien, with the real estate license, Yeah, exactly. Is it a sacrifice? Is it like, hey, my kid is a little bit whatever, here you go? And I know that sounds crazy, but if you've been following along with like what's been going on and what we've uncovered about these, like about the cabal and the ballistic, not the ballistics, that's funny, but these different groups and what they do, sacrifice is like not beyond them anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So really, I just want you to take this, and then I'm going to do another series a little bit later whenever I have more to put together. But tonight, whenever I was throwing it all together, I just didn't know, and I don't want to say yes or no on anything. Okay. Yeah. It feels like a sacrifice. I'm starting to feel like it was. You got a son who has, is having trouble. He should have been seeing a psychiatrist. He should have been. Go and look at her Instagram. Just scroll. She's got two. One with her husband and like their real estate stuff, and it doesn't even have any real estate stuff on it. It's like the other website I was mentioning. And then there's look at who she's following. She's only following one person, and that's her. So go look at that, and it'll take you, and you'll just see like it's toxic positivity. It's like, I don't know, you could see pictures of Lance whenever he was just a little bit younger than this, and he looks fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wonder if Lance knew he needed help and they knew he did, and they didn't believe in, psychiatrists or something, but she should have known better. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue, but something's not right, and I can't put my finger on it. The water feature. Yeah. It's also toxic positivity is also borderline like cult mentality. If you ask me, it's like when people get into like super, super religious, and it correlates with kind of like a mental disorder, like psychosis. That's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know who. I don't know. It's the only person that she follows is around. Luna, yeah. I'm glad we have the correct spelling on Luna now. Well, it would seem like, I mean, he's only 22, you guys. He's 22. You remember whenever you were that old? That young? He's like fresh out of high school, not living with his parents, but living in an apartment. And he doesn't have parents there to, tell him what to do. He's probably, I don't know. It's a little wild. Okay, so y'all take this and run with it, do something with it. If you are in here, definitely like it, subscribe. Yeah, he did not give off vibes of being gay. In fact, I don't even think he wanted to say that. And they didn't even tell him the right script to say. He was like, oh, he's never mentioned Charlie Kirk. Oh, I'm sure he doesn't pay rent. I'm sure he doesn't. But, maybe if I do think he was helping his dad with installing like bathtubs and stuff. That's what he had said during his interview. And from my creeping on different things, that seems to be true. So it does seem like they were trying to give him like some jobs and stuff, but I just feel like sound like such a conspiracy theorist, but I just feel like there's so many sacrifices and stuff going on. I don't know the name of the company, Get Crunk. I am trying to figure that out because I found a former lawsuit, and it may still be the same name of the same company that he's currently either he owns or he's working for. And hey, I'm all about entrepreneurship. If you want to like run a bunch of side hustles, I've done this too. But just too many. And you have a nice home. You can support 4 kids. There's just something that's up. Okay, y'all, I'm going to get out of here because it is 1 Central. But thank you for being here. And yeah, y'all tune in tomorrow. I think that Anna and I are going to do another little powwow with Allie. Yeah. Okay, I will look at that. Okay, you're welcome. Thanks for being here, you guys. Heart, heart. Good night.